Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is great today. Um, right. I'm just just making sure that I posted on the right page. But yeah. Well, let's get started. So, just an introduction. I'm Yuvan. I am volunteering as part of Connections, and today I'd like to go over fire safety training. So, yeah, let's get right into it. So, right. All right. so, um, yeah, let's get right into it. I think it's just first of all, just to get started, I think it's really important to think about fires and fire safety training, especially from a young age. I know when I was growing up and when I was around around my first grade and stuff, my school took me out and we went to a fire department and we got to learn about what the firefighters do. We got to see all the cool things that they do in the fire department. I remember when I learned that things need to happen so quickly when there's a fire. The firefighters don't take the stairs; they just go down a pole to get from the top story to the bottom story, which I thought that was the coolest thing back in the day. Um, so yeah, uh, oh, right. And I think with COVID and stuff, you probably. Oh, good morning, Nat. I was actually waiting for you just to make sure I was posting on the right page. um, so yeah, I think it's really important that we think about fire. And honestly, when I went to university for the first time, I remember in our orientation week, even when I was like 18 years old, we had a fire safety training like whole hour dedicated where the fire team came down to our uni and they outside they actually lit a whole room on fire just to show how quickly a dorm room with all the paper and study materials inside can catch on fire. And it was something like 2 minutes where they lit something on fire inside of it, and the whole like makeshift dorm room lit on fire, which it's not something to play around and joke around with. But I hope you guys can learn something. uh, Nat's telling me I'm in the right place. Thank you, Nat. um, Awesome. So I want this to be like a little bit more interactive if you guys don't mind, because I feel like it'd be more fun that way. So I'm gonna ask you, and Nat, you can reply. What? How do we know that there is a fire? How can we tell? Like, obviously we know fire isn't great, but how can we tell? Sorry, one second. Okay, well, if you were thinking a smoke detector, a fire alarm, yes, exactly. A smoke alarm, a smoke detector, a fire alarm, or a fire detector. I'm not exactly sure what the right term is to use, but you guys know what I'm getting at, right? So there's going to be a couple throughout your house, and I think it's going to start beeping. It's a certain beep, and you're gonna think, oh, perhaps maybe you're cooking something, and you might burn it, and it'll start going off. So that is exactly the right answer. And what do we do when we hear the smoke detector? Take a second to think about it. Well, if you were thinking you should check if there's a fire, that is the right answer. So that's pretty important. Assess the situation. There you go. Exactly. You know, once you hear the smoke detector, it could be anything. It could be your mom was in the kitchen, and perhaps she over or your mom or dad was in the kitchen, and they overcooked something. You know, comments take a little bit of a time to get through. Yeah, I'll keep that one in mind. But you know, it's good. I'll give you everyone a couple seconds to think about it. But yeah, it's true. Like, don't just leave the house instantly. You know, if you hear the smoke detector, just walk around, see what's going on, assess the situation. You guys are smart people. You know, you're almost a detective in in that circumstance. You know, you're gonna try to see what's going on. Was it mom or dad cooking, or was it is there actually something on fire? Um, that's really important. And another thing I wanted to mention is like this might be a little bit more for the parents, and the kids can help out as well. You should change the batteries every single year for your smoke detector because you want to make sure that it's running smoothly and it's not dead. And also, it's important to test it every single month. That's what's recommended by fire experts. It is very important to check it every single month. Now, here's a more tricky question that you guys might not have thought about. um, do you know what a carbon monoxide detector detects? Or a better question is, like, what is carbon monoxide? Does anyone know? A dangerous gas. That is super. That is like a great answer. It is very, very dangerous. This is, you know, carbon monoxide that is odorless and tasteless. That is exactly what I was thinking. That that is on the ball today. So that's 100% right. Carbon monoxide is invisible, so it is a gas in the air. You can't see it. It's not like smoke where you can kind of see, it's a dark cloud. Carbon monoxide, you can't actually see it, and you can't smell it. You can't taste it. Um, that makes it super dangerous. And if you have too much carbon monoxide in your house, you will actually pass out, and you won't even have like an an idea of what's going on, but you'll just pass out because it's so invisible, which is really really scary. Like if you can imagine like somebody is coming and stealing something in your house, but they're making a lot of noise, right? Obviously, you're gonna realize that person's coming in your house to steal something. But what if that person was invisible and didn't make any noise? How would you even tell if someone's coming in your house, right? That's like pretty dangerous in my opinion. So I hope I conveyed how dangerous it is. So that's why it's important to have a carbon monoxide detector as well. And I think it's important, perhaps maybe after this, to Google. I'm not sure if I can do this properly with my setup, but Google like what the different sounds are, because if you hear the carbon monoxide alarm go off, then it's not good to assess the situation. It's actually good to just leave the house because it is so much more dangerous than smoke. So smoke detector goes off, you want to assess the situation, see what's going on. Um, the carbon monoxide detector goes off, it is right to just leave the house at that moment. Great. So, what's the best way to leave the house, right? We know when to leave the house and we know why we need to leave the house, but how do we leave the house? That is like an important question, right? So I think what you guys should do is, if you haven't already, sit down with your family and discuss like the escape plan of your house. I have a sheet of paper here. I'm quickly gonna draw out like the main level of my house. And if you guys want to follow along and do this with me, like, uh, feel free to. So, right here. So, I wonder, can you guys read that? Right. So this is like a really, yes. Okay. Nat says yes. We have an escape plan. So important to have and so much fun to do as a family. Yeah, it is. It is fun, and it is really important because we need to know. So this is like a really basic drawing of my house. I have like on my main floor 4 rooms, and my front door and my back door. So what is important in an escape plan? So number one, you're gonna you're going to need 2 exits. That's really important because if one exit is blocked, let's say there's a fire like between you and the first exit, like your front door, well, you need another way to get out. So I'm going to draw 2 exits. Right? So here we go. 2 exits. If I'm chilling in this room, I can exit through the front door and get to the front yard. And I can exit through the back door, get out to the back of my house, and then go to the front yard. So that is actually another important thing is you need a place to meet after you leave the house. And it should be in the front yard because that's the fastest way that, when the fire men come, they can talk to you, make sure you're okay, and they don't have to go into the backyard where you might be stuck back there behind a giant house burning down. So, yeah, a good idea is perhaps you guys can meet outside at a tree outside. I've put a tree. We do have a tree there. I'm not making that up. But yeah, so that's really important. So it's a really good idea. This is really basic, and I came up with this like right now. But you should have a fire exit plan, and you should talk about it with your parents and make sure you guys, know what to do. What you guys can even do is like go and follow the routes and like escape with your family one time to see what it's like. Because I know for me, it's a lot easier to remember something when I do it than when I'm just kind of looking at it. I think it'd be more fun that way too. Right. So another thing is like if there's a fire, you really if you have an elevator in your house or if you're at school or something, you should not take the elevator. Does anyone know why? Give you a second to think about it. All right, if you were thinking because The elevator doesn't work when there's a fire. That's exactly right. So you could be on the top floor. Oh, Nat has a question. Very true. And knowing where to go after you've left the house. Where do you go and why? Right. So it's important to be outside at a common meeting point, right? You don't really want like one person in the backyard and one person in the front yard because maybe the people in the front yard are going to be thinking, wait, where's that last member? Like, where's mom? You know, she's not outside with us. We don't know where she is. She's in the backyard. So you need to have a common meeting point, and it's better for it to be in the front yard. So when the fire people come, they can know and make sure you're safe. They see you. They can like maybe help you out if you're burnt a little bit or anything. Or it's very important to be in the front yard and not behind the burning house. So I think that's pretty important. Always use the stairs, Nat says. So yeah, I asked if if you are at school or something and there's the elevator, do you take the elevator down or do you take the stairs? No, you should always take the stairs. Because if you're, on the top floor and you want to get to the bottom, sure, you get in the elevator and you're going down, but all of a sudden the fire perhaps the fire kind of messes up the electricity of the elevator and now it's stuck. So now you're stuck in the elevator, and the building's burning down, and that is not a good situation. So you do not want to use the elevator because it could get stuck. It could malfunction, and that would be really really hard for the fire for the firemen to get you out of there. You don't really want to be in that situation. So always take the stairs. um, Right. And so let's say you are in a room. This is a little bit more tough question. I'll see if you guys can get it. Let's say you're in a room and you don't know which exit to take. And there's a fire, obviously. The front yard or the front exit or the back exit. You don't know. And there's a door to the front one and a door to the back one. How would you decide which one to take? I'll give you guys a couple seconds to think about it. Okay, so if you were thinking, you should check, you should feel the door, feel the door handle with the back of your hand, light slightly to see if it's warm or if it's hot. That would tell you that there is a fire behind that exit. I would touch the door just to test if there's heat. Matt says, that's exactly right. Matt's on fire today. So yeah, that is exactly what you want to do. You want to touch the door, see if there's if there's heat coming off that door, if you can feel it, that's probably where the fire is coming from. And you don't necessarily want to open that door with your hands. That might burn you. You should just slightly touch it with the back of your hand. And if you open the door, it might let the fire out towards you. You might get burnt as well. So you should be, like I said, you're kind of like a detective in this situation. You try to see if you can see the signs of like where the fire is coming from and make sure you avoid the fire. So that's right on. Okay, so you got to get out. We know that. Let's say this the smoke alarm goes off. You can tell there's a fire, and you're on your way out. You've chosen the correct place to go, but there's a specific way on how to get out, right? So I'm gonna ask another question. What way does smoke go? Give you guys a second to think about it. Now, if you were thinking smoke rises and goes up, then you are right. So just think about it. Like if you're at a campfire, the smoke always rises and goes, to the ceiling. And like we as humans, or I think any animal, like we can't actually breathe smoke, right? That's why smoking's bad for you. So you can't actually stand up. It's not good to actually stand up and walk. What you really want to do is, if there's a lot of smoke in the air, you want to get on the ground and you want to crawl. So I can actually show you guys that. Like we can practice this. So I have I hope you guys can see this. But here, I just get put my workout stuff out of the way. Oh, sorry about this. Right. So what you want to do here is, let's say that there's a bunch of smoke in the air, right? You don't want to be standing up so tall where your head is in the smoke, because the smoke rises. You want to get on the ground and you want to crawl. So you're going to be on the ground like this and you're going to crawl. Okay. You guys can give that a try. It's actually kind of fun. But that is right, because you can't go your body can't go that long without oxygen, and you might actually not know how much smoke is in the air. So if there's no smoke in the air, if you can't smell anything, then maybe it's best to just leave. But if there's a lot of smoke in the air, you should get low and get out. I think they say the phrase is "get low and go," if that helps you remember it. And yeah, a couple more things just on that note. Like, fire is really scary, right? Sometimes, like when I'm scared, I want to just like, not think about it and just hide. That's kind of like the kids are crawling, they're having fun. Yeah, it's really fun now, but it's really good practice because you're gonna remember that, right? Um, so crawling is really important. But yeah, as I was saying, oh, thank you for the demo. Very helpful. Yeah, of course. I'm glad to see that you guys are, you're finding this helpful. But yeah, so another thing is that you might be scared. If there's a fire, like I know I would be scared for sure, and it's a scary situation. But sometimes when I'm scared, like I just want to hide. I don't want to think about it. You just wait for someone to come and help you. Wait for an adult to come and help you. I need you guys to be like really brave in this situation, because hiding is not the right thing to do in a fire. I think you guys know what I'm saying, because if you hide when you're in the house, like the fire might it it actually increases the chance that the fire might end up hurting you. So you don't really want to hide. You want to get out of there as quick as possible. And if you're an adult or you're an older brother or sister, maybe you want to maybe give a shout like, "Hey, everyone, get outside! There's a fire." That might be really important too. So if you're brave and you can yell that as you're getting out, that is really important. But that being said, being brave only goes so far. When there's a fire, I do not want any of you guys to maybe go upstairs and make sure you got your phone as you go out. That is, although your phone is really, really important to you, and like it might be expensive and you're scared what your mom and dad will say, oh no, the phone, that is not as important as your life. So just leave everything you own It doesn't matter, but you are the most important, and you just want to book it out of there. So that's really important. Don't bring the PlayStation. Don't bring your phone. Don't bring your favorite toys. Just book it out of there. And I know you guys love your pets, but if you have like a fish tank or something, if you have like a dog, just know that the fire department will save those people. They will take care of that. So you just got to book it out of there and be as brave as you can and just yell, "There's a fire. We need to get out." And that you could be a hero just saying that, or a heroine. um, Great. So another thing is like, so let's say you're outside. What do we do next? Well, the house is on fire, so you got to call 911. That's the next step. And I'm sure you guys have heard of 911 before. That is the number that you call only when there's an emergency. You don't call that like when you're bored at sitting at home. That is serious business. Those guys are there to help you. You call 911. If you have your cell phone on you, call 911. You tell them there's an emergency, there's a fire. You tell them your address. You give them your cell phone number. Now, if you don't have a cell phone, maybe you should have a conversation with your parents about like where's the next best cell phone you can use. Is it your neighbor's house? Which neighbor is it? Is it this person 2 doors down? Yeah, so Nat says, we tell our kids to go to the neighbors for help and call 911. That is exactly right, yeah. If the neighbor is the person that you want to go to, it could be the neighbor 2 doors down, 3 doors down. You guys have, I'm sure everyone has a specific neighbor on their street that they trust. I hope so. And that it's important to know that you want to call 911 so that the fire department can get there as fast as possible. Great. So yeah, once again, know your address. Your neighbor can help you out with that too. And your phone number. And your neighbor can help you out with that too. Right. Okay, so we definitely talked about a lot of things so far, but what would happen if you are on fire yourself? uh, so that is a really unfortunate situation, but the number one thing is you got to be brave and do not panic. And does anybody know what you do when you're on fire, when your clothes are on fire? Okay, I'll give you guys a couple seconds to think about that. And if you were thinking stop, drop, and roll, that is exactly right. Yes, stop, drop, and roll is what you want to think. That's like super easy to remember, and it's like super important. Get on the ground and roll. Yeah. Okay, so we can actually practice this one too. So, um, yeah, so I hope you guys can hear me still, but yeah, so let's say I'm on fire right now. Oh no, number one, do not panic. You gotta remember, stop, drop, and roll. So you're gonna stop what you're doing. Let's say I was cooking. I'm just gonna pretend to cook here. And oh no, my shirt started catching on fire. Well, stop everything. Put like my cooking, put the pan down, stop everything. I stopped. Then you drop down to the ground. And here is actually a good thing to do after you drop is you want to cover your face. You want to cover your face like with your hands so your face isn't catch on fire. So you cover your face and then you roll. that before. All right. Yeah. So we can just yeah. Just remember, stop, drop, and roll. And if you can, cover your face too. Right? So yeah, it's actually unfortunate because I remember my chemistry teacher was telling us that a lot of clothes nowadays, like they used to be made of cotton, which like burns, um, and you can stop, drop, and roll. It's fine. But then there's also a lot of clothes these days that are made out of polyester, and I think polyester it melts unfortunately. So yeah, it could actually like melt on top of you if you're on fire. So um, that's unfortunate now that they've started making clothes out of polyester, but there's not much you can do there. Stop, drop, and roll still helps for that. Um, right. So, all right. So another thing is great rolling. Yeah, I hope you guys had fun with the rolling too. I know I did. Um, right. So I don't actually. I was trying to look for this actually earlier, but I thought maybe I would have a lighter, but I don't have one on me. But there's things like lighters and matches. And I know like fire can seem like it's interesting and it's like it's cool, but it's not. Like lighters and matches are not cool. You should not be playing with those things. Yeah, I can't stress that enough. Like you should leave that to an adult for when they're doing, when an adult knows what they're doing, whether that be like, cooking a barbecue or, lighting something they need to on fire, starting a campfire. That is like something an adult can do because they are mature and skilled, but under no circumstance should you be playing with a lighter or match. And because let's be honest, that's how fires start, right? Is like, people are playing around with fire or they're not taking the proper precautions, and all of a sudden, things are on fire. Just another fact for you guys is like, I know that it's actually, when I was growing up, there was a bear. I can't remember his name, but there was commercials, and he would tell kids not to play with lighters and matches because he would say it's going to burn his forest and his home down, which is really sad to think about. Is if you light like a forest on fire or something, and that's a lot of homes that you've lit on fire too. Homes for birds, homes for bears, homes for squirrels, homes for the bees. Like, yeah, so you definitely don't want to be playing with fire. You definitely don't want to be playing with lighters. It is not cool, not at all. Right. Okay. Another thing is, does anybody know what to do if you have a burn? You've been burnt. Give you a couple seconds to think about it. Yeah, so if you were thinking run it under cold water, that is correct. Um, that is apparently the best thing to do when you get burnt. I know in our first aid course that I took, there was a little bit more instructions, but that is generally a good rule. You want to run it under cold water. Now, there's different kinds of burns, like first, second, and third degree, but just in general, like if you're burnt and it hurts, run it under some cold water. Um, yeah, and obviously get some medical attention to it. You can have really really bad burns too that I'm sure can only be helped by a medical professional, but just in general, it's good to run under cool water. And yeah, so I'm gonna ask you guys another couple things. I'm pretty much testing you guys. I'm sorry if you guys don't like being tested. But what are some examples of fire hazards you guys can think of? I'll give you guys a couple seconds to think about it. All right, yeah. Okay, Nat says stove. Okay, yeah, and we have another commenter. That is a good question. Oh, okay, yeah, it is a pretty good question. um, yeah, so stove is one for sure. So that is really important. If you've been using the stove, you got to make sure you turn it off. Um, Oil cooking on stove. Yep, that is all really good answers. Now, um, yeah, those are great answers. Yeah, cooking on a stove, oil for sure. Like anytime, the oven too. That's really good. I'm not sure if the microwave counts, but probably. um, so yeah, I have a couple things written down here too, like candles. That's like a huge one. Uh, I'm not sure if people still light candles or they get those electric ones. Um, but candles, you want to make sure when you're monitoring them, you're not like leaving them out, especially with like kids going around. They might knock it over. I know that I knocked over some candles when I was like growing up, and my mom was not happy. Microwave for sure. The barbecue. We've got hairstyling tools. That is a great one. Like if you have a hair straightener, a hair curler. Um, I know my sister doesn't always turn those off. When she's done using them. That is really really important. Is you want to like unplug those when you're done, because those could easily catch on fire. Yeah, we have honestly anything that you plug in could cause a fire. So you want to unplug a lot of these things when you're done using them. Kettles, any sort of electrical items like even like a toaster oven. Yeah, it's important to like just turn these off. Like if you leave these things on, that could easily catch fire. And going back to my story in university, like they showed us, they lit that dorm room on fire. They actually built a dorm room. Yeah, hairstyling tools. That is definitely right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they lit that. They built a dorm room outside in like, and there was thousands of us outside like watching this in university. I went to Western, um, and they lit it on fire, and within 2 minutes, it went from like one piece of paper in that dorm room on fire to like the whole thing just in flames. Um, so yeah, it is like it's important to prevent the fires if you can before they even happen, which is why it's important to think about what is a fire hazard. um, and of course, if you're an adult and there is a fire happening and it's contained, perhaps it's in the pan. Maybe you got a fire extinguisher in the garage or somewhere in the house. That's like something you can get to and try to settle it down. Um, but yeah, I would leave that to the adults right now because those things are kind of heavy for sure. So let's quickly recap like what we've learned today because it was a lot. We went through a lot of stuff. We've learned that if how can we tell if there's a fire? We can tell, there's a smoke alarm that goes off, obviously, and you change the battery of that every year. You should check it every month and replace it every 10 years. Then there's the carbon monoxide, which is very dangerous, invisible gas. That as soon as you hear the carbon monoxide alarm, you gotta get it out. You gotta get out, because yeah, you won't even know it before it hits you, right? Because it's so invisible, odorless, and tasteless. You should have an escape plan. Sit down with your family. Figure out your two exits. Figure out a spot to meet. Then you should figure out what to do when you're outside, which is call 911. And if you don't have a cell phone, make sure you go to a trustable neighbor and call 911. Make sure when you're leaving the house, don't worry about pets. Don't worry about, your favorite items. Just get yourself out. You are the most important. Um, and yeah, when you're leaving the house, also, you want to get low and go because smoke rises. You don't want to be breathing in smoke. Humans weren't designed to breathe smoke, they were designed to breathe air. If you're on fire yourself, you want to stop, drop, and roll. Um, yeah, and we've talked about some fire hazards too. So, yeah, um, if you guys have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to drop them below, and I will be sure to get to them. I want to thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys learned something and just stay safe and keep these things in mind. And hopefully, we'll never have to use them, but just in case, at least we know that we know what to do. Great. Yeah, it was a pleasure, and I'll see you guys later.